Welcome to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. This is Kathy Williams. And today's conversation is staying centered and grounded, no matter what. No matter what the world is doing, no matter if you're going through craziness in your life or people you love are going through craziness, it is possible to be grounded and it's possible to stay centered. So I'm going to share some of my favorite tools with you today. Many of those are from energy medicine. Some of those are from yoga. Others are just ones that I've picked up along the 20 years I've been coaching people and doing healing work. So before we get started, I just love to invite you to my website, meetkathywilliams.com. It's there that you can interact with me, find upcoming classes, download a free money rain exercise, and give me your ideas. Give me your questions, like, I didn't get this, or you didn't explain that well, or whatever. I love feedback. So, and of course, if you like the show, please drop me some stars on iTunes or wherever, like on YouTube. The internet gods just love it so much more. When you do that, they'll share it with more people and stuff like that. So we like that. Gosh, as I was thinking about this show, I was reflecting on the fact that I used to be a spaz ball. I mean, anxious, I would say pretty much from the time I got up and thought about going to school. Right? I was 18 at the time that these memories that came to mind. So from the moment I thought of going to school till pretty much I went to yoga. I went to yoga at like 7 p.m. So from like 7:30 in the morning until 7 p.m., I was frying my nervous system because I didn't know then what I know now about calming the nervous system and becoming grounded and centered. But yoga definitely did that for me. Like an hour of being in the body definitely made a ginormous difference. And the funny thing is I was working with my body pretty much all the time. I was a dancer, I was a ballerina. However, I was in front of the mirror perfecting, trying, striving, efforting. And so yoga was the place where I could just let that go. And of course there was some efforting, but there was no mirror and I could just feel and sense and embody myself instead of have that reflection staring back at me that I was always trying to perfect. So I learned to breathe consciously, and that is one of the biggest things I'm going to talk about today. It's certainly not the full extent. We're going to give you a toolbox, but learning to breathe consciously, even just 3 slow, deep breaths, starts to settle the nervous system. And if you saw my interview with Gay Hendricks a couple of months ago, Gay Hendricks and Carol Klein talking about 8 secrets to conscious luck, they talked about that, like becoming settled, becoming centered allows you to show up at the right place at the right time so that luck can occur for you. And 3 deep breaths will start the process of that. And there is a science to the breath, and the yogis knew this even before they did scientific studies like we have today, where the inhale is a more stimulating part of the breath. So that's the more energizing piece. Holding your breath after you inhale is also stimulating. Exhaling slowly, exhaling is the relaxing part of the breath, and then holding the breath after you exhale has a really interesting effect on the mind, because it can be this really settled, tranquil place in which you let go, which ultimately takes you into transcendental states of consciousness, like transcending your everyday brainwave state. But if you have an unresolved trauma, maybe of being smothered or drowning or that sort of thing where you couldn't actually breathe, initially or at some point it may bring that up, so it has an agitating effect until that's relieved. And once you've processed that, then the hold of your breath after exhale becomes one of the most divine things you can experience. Sometimes my brain even says, like, do I have to inhale again? You know, like, it's just so peaceful in that space. And so I'm gonna guide you through a breathing practice a little later. However, I want to talk about a few other things. You know, meditation is one of the things that a lot of people say, well, you should do, quote should do if you want to relax. And yes, there are innumerable effects that meditation has on your body and your nervous system and your mind and your emotions. Yet a lot of people say, well, I can't meditate. Meaning, well, I sit there and try to, quote, calm my mind and still it, and that doesn't happen. I just see this litany of thoughts rush through. And that's okay. That's actually part of your meditation, right? It's not thinking that something should be otherwise. I did a whole show on meditation about a year ago. I think it's called Effortless Meditation. So we'll just touch on some basic points today, because you can find Effortless Meditation with Kathy Williams on Spotify or iTunes or iHeartRadio or on IOM.fm. You can find it all those places where I go deeper into ins and outs of meditation. But the idea is that you bring your mind to focus on something, and the mind often will then deviate from that thing, right? Let's say you say, oh, well, I want to imagine a candle in my mind's eye, and I'm going to meditate on that candle. And then you bring your awareness to that, and you sit with that, and then 30 seconds goes by, and you're like, oh, I was just thinking of the dinner I have to go to tonight, right? Up, back, right? Candle, 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 candle. And then, oh, I was thinking about that guy who, said that thing to me earlier today. That was so rude, right? Oops. Candle, 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 right? That's totally normal. It's like a muscle. You're developing. Developing, it takes time. Just like going to the gym, it builds a muscle, but you're not going to lift the heaviest weight on day one. You build it little by little. So I'm going to move back into the breath, but during the second part of the show, I'll show you some energy medicine techniques. I'll tell you about them and lead you through a few different things that you can do to really have a profound effect on calming the nervous system. And it just takes seconds. And then more toward the end of the show, I'll talk about some real things you can do for grounding, like to feel connected to the earth, that don't require getting out in nature and hiking, even though those are amazingly grounding things as well. I'll talk about some more really grounding, get you in your body stuff as the show goes on. So as we go back to the breath, this is one of the primary tools because it's always with you. Whether you're in a bathroom or in a boardroom or having a baby or in traffic, it's a tool you can rely on to change things. And the breath is a link from the outer world to the inner world, right? I mean, physically we can sense that. So I talked about inhaling and holding the breath are the energizing parts of the breath, and then exhaling and holding the breath are essentially the more calming, relaxing parts. So So if you want to relax, then you would focus on building, slowing, lengthening the exhale, and ultimately, perhaps, the hold after your exhale. If you want energy at the same time as becoming focused and calm, then you could think about balancing the inhale with the exhale, right? So what does that mean? That means if it's 5 in the morning and I don't want to go back to sleep, but I'd like to start my day and build some energy, maybe I'm gonna shorten this from what I'd normally do. I'd probably normally do a 10 count inhale, hold for 5, 10 count exhale, hold for 5, but let's do it like this. So take an exhale, just releasing all the excess air, and inhale for a count of 5. And just be alert to your natural pause, and then exhale for a count of 5 through the nostrils. And again, inhale for a count of 5, and of course you may be slower or quicker than what I'm saying. Hold 5, and exhale for 5. Now, there's a book that's come out recently. It's about the breath. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's by James something. He actually did this experiment. It's so fascinating, in which he plugged his nostrils for some long period of time. My brain forgets details, but the book is called Breathe by James Nestor, and it's so fascinating because he did all of these experiments in which he essentially, it's Breath by James Nestor, stopped breathing through his nose. And what they found is blood pressure went up, sleep got worse, all these things because he was breathing from the mouth all the time, okay? So as you do these breath practices, there are specific ones that we can do to cool the body that are done through the mouth, but we're going to specifically inhale and exhale through the nose. So you inhale, 5, hold 2 now. Exhale 5 and hold 2. This is an energizing breath. Repeat it a couple of times. When you hold your breath, see if you can soften your throat, soften your eyes. As you exhale, see if you can feel the belly pulling in. And again, soften the eyes and throat when you hold your breath. We're just doing it very basic right now, but don't confuse basic with ineffective. I think we do that a lot. We want the next complex, interesting thing. And as my teacher, when I was in yoga school in my 20s, was talking about, he said, if you'll do 5 minutes of conscious breathing every day, your relationships will change, your emotions will change, your digestion will change, your nervous system will change, your respiratory fitness, of course, will change. So many things will change. Why? Because we are calming the fight or flight and tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system, or rest and digest. And I've talked about this on the show before, right? When you're agitated, when you're stressed, blood goes to your arms and your legs so you can run or hit something. But most of the time, that's not required. We're in traffic, we're not gonna hit something or run. So breathing consciously and slowly can change this. It's the number one fundamental tool you can use to do it. However, there are some energy medicine little hacks too, we'll talk about later. So that is, if you want energy, inhale and exhale are equal duration. If you want to relax more, let's say you're going to sleep or you've just come home for the day and you want to unwind, what you could do is you could make your exhale twice as slow as your inhale. So let's say you're inhaling to a count of 4. You could just not even pause after inhale or just have it be natural. You're going to inhale for a count of 4. You could exhale to a count of 8. Or if that's too much, 6. Or if that's super easy, 10. Right? So inhaling 4 through the nose and exhaling 8. Inhaling 4 and exhaling 8. Now there are ways to make this even more relaxing for the mind. So when we come back, I'll talk about that for a moment, and then we'll transition into some really fun energy exercises that create amazing change. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Listening to Sexy Mom, Abundant Life. Find me on Spotify, iTunes, meetkathywilliams.com. Welcome back to Sexy Mom, Abundant Life, everybody. This is Kathy Williams, and today I'm talking about ways to stay centered when there is craziness in the world or upheaval in your life. You know, whether it's someone said something to you that really ticked you off or a huge life change. Like, I'm talking about ways that you can calm your nervous system and come back to the fact that you're okay right here, right now. And wow, with all the anxiety, today is what? Thursday after the election. Okay, there's still a lot of anxiety in the world, a lot of sadness around, I mean, not only in the country, in the world, about what's going on, about our projections of who should win and who shouldn't win, and how the world will be a better place with one person over the other, right? And all these are our stories, as much as we believe them to be true or not. Like, our small minds cannot see the larger picture. It's just like a little paintbrush. We are on a painting of one stroke. We see just a few of the strokes. We don't see the whole painting. So, with all of this stuff that's going on, a lot of us are so sensitive and aware that we're picking up on the heaviness, the anxiety, the sadness, whatever it is. So one of the questions I've learned to ask is this even mine? Right? Is this just awareness? And if it's just awareness, there's just a sort of an openness that arises, a softening, a sense of, okay, right? Like when you get something, your mind is working hard on a problem, and then you just get it, you kind of soften. And the same is true when you ask, oh, is this just awareness? Oh yeah, okay, I can settle. I don't have to figure it out. It's all right. Cool. So start to ask yourself those questions. And a lot of my clients, I do personal coaching and I do some small groups of women. And a lot of them find that a Post-it note is a helpful thing. You stick it on your steering wheel or on your bathroom mirror or whatever the case may be. It's just that little reminder like, oh yeah, this is just awareness. Cool. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to figure it out. So We started the show by talking about the breath, and I'm going to add one more element to the toolbox that you now have of knowing that making your inhale and exhale even energizes and focuses, okay? And making your exhale longer than inhale relaxes and calms even more. And that is that if you have a particular mantra or phrase that you like to use, some people use a prayer, saying that to the rhythm of the breath can really create deep change and repatterning of the mind as you're calming the nervous system. So what might that look like? Well, let's say, I'm just going to use Ho'oponopono because that's simple and it's more or less neutral. It's not religious. And I also teach Ho'oponopono plus yoga. So if you go to meetkathywilliams.com, you can find out about that. But the whole thing is weaving the mantra through the class. So we'll do it this way. On your inhale, you might say something like this: I love you, I'm sorry. You say that internally as you breathe in through the nose. And then as you exhale, you might say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. So now the exhale is longer, almost twice as long as the inhale. I love you, I'm sorry. And then exhale, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. If you have a Hindu bent or a yogic bent, you might say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya on inhale, and then say it 3 times or 6 times on the exhale, right? Depending on the effect you want to have. So you match the inhale or you make the exhale longer. You never want to make the inhale longer than the exhale. And for our purposes of just people moving around in the modern world, we don't want to make the hold after inhale longer than the exhale either. That is a traditional yogic practice to say inhale 12, hold the breath 32, exhale 16. Okay, but that's for people who are not eating much, who are living in caves, which is not most of us, right? So a better option is just stick to the exhale remains the longest thing, or it's equal. Okay, that keeps you safe. All right. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit, and of course, if you have questions, please feel free to message me at meetkathywilliams.com. That is the best place. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, and where's the other place? Facebook Messenger. Okay. Totally welcome to message me there with your questions. We're going to switch gears to a little energy medicine exercise. Now, if you don't have hands free, no problem. I am having a separate YouTube video of this too. So if you want to skip to this exercise, you can. That way, if you're driving or whatever, you can do it later without having to listen to the whole show. So what you're going to do is, if your hands are not free, you just imagine these points. And instead of using your hands, just imagine a ball of glowing light of any color at each of these points. So we're going to inhale, sweep our arms out to the sides and up above our head, and make a little pyramid where the pinky tips and the thumb tips are out to the sides, and then the other tips are up. And you're placing the thumbs on the crown of the head. So you have a little pyramid resting on the crown of your head. You inhale here, and then bring your thumbs to your third eye between the eyebrows, and exhale. Inhale here. Skip the throat. Thumbs come to you right between the breasts, the center of the chest. Inhale here. Exhale, thumbs touch the navel. Inhale here. And then your hands just rest flat on your belly. And take 4 slow breaths with the hands there on the belly. I like to call this Culling the Chaos. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up, same thing. So you're making a little pyramid, all fingertips touching each other. On the opposite hand, thumbs to the crown of the head. Take a deep breath here. And then thumbs to right between the eyebrows. Inhale here. Exhale, thumbs to between the nipples. Inhale here. So your hands stay in that pyramid. Thumbs to the navel. Belly button. Inhale here. I'm yawning because my nervous system needed this. Exhale, let your hands rest on your belly. Just feel the warmth of your hands as you breathe. Several breaths. I usually like to do this 3 times. So you sweep your arms out and form a pyramid and then bring them to the crown of the head on exhale. You inhale at that point, bring them to the third eye. So inhale here, you skip over the throat because the throat is an energetic bridge. And putting the thumbs there like that will actually shift the energy, and we don't want to do that at this point. Inhale, and then exhale, thumbs to the navel, belly button. And after you inhale, you just rest the hands on the belly, like a little downward triangle. You open them and rest them there. And this has a large impact also for kids. So it's something you can teach to kids. But it generally has a centering effect. For one, it's touching the body. It's a tactile experience. And every time we do that, whether you put a hand on the face, whether you put a hand on the chest, it has a slight centering effect. And actually, that's a good idea too. So this is a different exercise, putting your dominant hand on the heart. If you write with the left hand, then your left hand would be dominant. Okay? Put the non-dominant hand on the upper belly. And just tell yourself, I am here. I am here. I am here. Because when we're anxious, our mind has gone somewhere else, into what we think will or might happen that we don't want to have happen, that if it happens, we're going to have to deal with it. And how many times have you told yourself stories like that were so overblown in your head, and then when the real life thing happened, it was just minor in comparison? Like, that was my whole life, right? I told you when I would wake up in the morning and think about going to school, I would get stressed, like, because of my stories about what might happen that day. Not a really good place to learn things, right? Like, when you're in fight or flight, information does not sink in and stick as well. It just doesn't, unless it's a very strong emotional charge. Because you're already riled up. You're not in a relaxed, receptive space. So, clearing the chaos, and then dominant hand on chest, non-dominant hand on upper belly. The next thing I want to teach you is called a triple warmer smoothie. And the triple warmer, if you're familiar with Chinese medicine, you know that the spleen, which is great for immunity and also, interestingly, helpful for digestion, that meridian is sort of in contrast. Either it pulls or the triple warmer pulls. Okay, so we're gonna do the triple warmer smoothie because if the triple warmer is pulling energy from the spleen, what's gonna happen? You won't what? Digest or have a strong immunity. Triple warmer is super useful, you know, defending, stuff like that. But if you're in stress, it's overactive. Okay, chronic stress makes this overactive. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna take our fingers and just touch the temples. Both sides is great if you can do both sides. You're gonna inhale. Oh, and exhale, just touching the temples. This is the end point of the triple warmer. As you inhale now, trace around your ear and onto your shoulders. So the fingertips are on the back of the shoulder and your arms are just kind of hanging off. And just take a couple of breaths here. So what did we do? We took the fingers from the temples, inhale around, trace around the ears, and then hang off. Now we're going to take both hands to the chest. You can put one on top of the other and draw like a giant heart. So lifting the fingers up and around the chest and then down to the belly. So they come together below the belly like a little heart. And that is the triple warmer smoothie. Okay. There are different ways of doing this. This is the one I like, so I also have a separate video of this on YouTube. I'm Kathy Williams, public figure on YouTube. So you can find that and practice that. The key is really having things you can come back to. Like I love bringing my dominant hand to the chest and my non-dominant hand to the belly. I can do that most places I go if I'm not holding something. And it just serves as a reminder, I am here. I am here. I am here. Now, when we have a lot going on in our heads, what ends up happening is, you know, some people say, you should add more, right? I recently, I was doing a body of work for some years that talked about like, if you have drama in your head, you don't have enough going on in your life. And that can be true, but it's not unequivocally true. So for some people, it's useful to add more. For some people, it's useful to subtract, do less. Like their version of adding more might be add an assistant, right? So that person takes some things off your plate. So if you have all sorts of things pulling at you, you may like to ask, what can I add to my life to make all of this easier? And it could be add quiet time or add a babysitter or add something else. Like I know someone who, you know, doing parenting and work, like I know a lot of people who that's really stressful for, but he cancels work appointments to have you know, to be there with his kids. And I'm like, well, what if you also had a babysitter? Okay, like that's an option too. So you have to do what works for you. Is it canceling work appointments? Is it adding a babysitter? Is it finding something else? Because if your nervous system is amped up, oh, we're going to break already. You don't think as well, right? Immunity goes down. All these things change. So when we come back, I'm going to guide you through some grounding exercises. Um, Thanks so much for listening to me, Kathy, on Sexy Mom Abundant Life. Be back in just a moment. This is Kathy Williams, and today's conversation is about staying grounded and centered. So, the last few things we've done have been little energy medicine exercises, I would say. That's a good word for them. And I'm gonna guide you through one more. Super simple. I know a lot of you are familiar with tapping. We're not gonna do a whole lot of tapping here. We're just gonna find the gamut point, which is between the fourth finger and the little finger, and the knuckle. It's between the knuckles of the fourth and the little finger, and you're just gonna tap there. And this is very close to the beginning of the triple meridian and has a strong effect on calming stress. So I've taught this to people who worked at the power plant, bank employees, women in LA who taught yoga, all these different places. And the beauty of this is you could just be sitting at a meeting and your hands are under the table and you're doing this tapping before you have to do your presentation. Super simple, you just tap. And then I like to do both sides. Some OCD about like balance or something. So you don't have to do both sides. It's totally fine to just do one. But yeah, just tapping between the knuckles of the little finger and the ring finger. Super simple and very effective for bringing calm and centeredness. And before we hop into the grounding, more grounding things, I wanted to also talk a little bit about things to cut out, and that might be cutting out the person who cutting out or asking them to stop texting you all the crazy, scary news, right? Like in January, February of last year, my friend messaged me and said, "Hey, Kathy, like one of my friends just keeps sending me all this fear-based stuff about coronavirus. Like it stresses me out every time I see it." Well, guess what? You can ask them to stop, right? Like, thanks, I'm getting so many messages every day. I know you care about me, and I'm super grateful for that. And please stop texting me these messages. I've done that myself. You know, it's like enough is enough. Cutting out perhaps something that makes you ungrounded, like caffeine, or if you're familiar with Ayurveda, you know that anything that's light, like popcorn or celery or peanuts in a way, like all these light things are air producing, which are not grounding. What would be grounding would be a sweet potato, or a nice some kind of anchoring protein, or something like a nice stew. Warm, nourishing, earthy things are grounding. And you may notice that certain smells for you are grounding, right? What can you surround yourself visually, auditorily, like music, chimes, a sound machine, of white noise, whatever it is, to like drown out hammering or noisy, unpredictable people. Smells, right? Aromas that are grounding for you. So that we're engaging the senses of taste and touch and sight and hearing and all of that to help you come back to center. And we've already used, touch in certain ways today. And of course, I can't give you some of my favorite scents, like frankincense. This is not scratch and sniff, but you may have your own. And how can you surround yourself with things that are nourishing for you sensually on all levels? And that is very grounding. Okay? So in the first part of the show, I mentioned meditation a little bit, and the agitated mind, has trouble sitting. So the sitting down to clear the head. So the breath is a good link. It's a good bridge. Like sitting and doing a breathing practice for 5 minutes or longer is a great bridge to settle you down for meditation. But if you still have troubles, then one of the things you can do is really a body-based sensory meditation where you're like, okay, I feel my feet as they're touching the ground. And if you're lying on your back, then I feel my heels touching the ground. I feel my ankles. I sense my calves. I'm aware of my knees. I'm present with my thighs. Right? And again, it seems perhaps so simple as to be something that you want to overlook for something more complex. But really, the nervous system likes simple. The nervous system doesn't need flashy lights and techno color and techno music. The nervous system likes the things that sort of anchor you in the here and now. And that's what this does. And then if you like to imagine deep roots into the heart of the earth, really anchoring down, feeling your connection to the heart of the earth, knowing that through all political times, through all cultures, through all upheavals, anything that's happened on this planet, the planet has still been here supporting us. Right? Acknowledging that support. Receiving it. So deep roots down to the heart of the earth. And then if you like, anchoring them there somehow. Whether you tie them in, or glue them there, or feel like the rocks sort of anchor you down. And then sense earth energy come up through your legs. Right, up from the heart of the earth into your legs and into your hips. Noticing the quality of that earth energy. Up into your pelvis and low belly, into the upper belly, into the rib cage, permeating every cell, into the shoulders, and down the arms. Okay. And the Hawaiians believe that we're each a combination of earth and cosmic energy. So feel your own personal connection to the cosmos, however that shows up for you. And draw cosmic energy down into the crown of the head. And allow it to mix with the earth energy. It's got its own quality and color. Down into the throat, into the shoulders, permeating the chest, water falling down into the belly, pelvis, and all the way down the legs. And this is a really useful exercise to do every day, allowing all the excess cosmic energy to just drain out the soles of your feet. I learned this from a kahuna, a Hawaiian energy master, and she taught me many, many energy modalities, many ways of using energy, and I've been teaching those more and more because they're powerful. So you can find out about those at meetkathywilliams.com/aloha. This particular exercise we just did is great for not getting rid of cords, but helping people not cord you when you do it. Therefore, it's useful to do every day. And that you can also find as part of my How to Clear Cords class, which is a class coming up at meetkathywilliams.com/aloha, but also a product on the site. If you just want instant download, let me get those meditations, let me get those ways to clear cords, you can definitely instant download it. You do not want to cut cords, not a good idea for several different reasons. So just energetic, leaving a piece of that in your field is not useful, but that's another topic. Oh, so I hope this has been useful for you. Slow breathing consciously every day will change your immunity, your digestion, your breathing, your nervous system, your focus, your relationships, many things. So please use it, whether you're stressed or not. And hit me a note. Please let me know which of these was useful for you. You may like to take one and run with it and see how it works after using it for 3 weeks or so. You'll know. So anyway, I also just wanted to invite you to a class I have coming up that's for raising your vibes, and that's really what's needed on the planet right now. It is a wonderful hour that will change the way you manifest in your life, and find it at meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. Also, a shout out to Swaddle Designs, because they created this super cute face mask that says "Be Kind" on it. And oh my gosh, the response I get from people either saying that's an awesome message or they are kinder. You wouldn't believe the things people do when they wear this mask. It's amazing. So it's just a great reminder for people like, oh yeah, we're all in this together and we're all wearing masks, but masks with a message are super awesome. So Swaddle Design has this available in different sizes, and it's like padded 3 times. So super great to wear and have your kids wear as a reminder for the planet. Be kind. Any ideas you have for shows? I love to hear, because it makes my life easier if you are sending me the show ideas. Later in the month, this month is November, I'm having Gay Hendricks back on the show. Super excited, with my friend Carol Klein, talking about how to show up in the right place at the right time, how to have more amazing synchronicity come into your life. So definitely check them out, check that show out. They've been on the show before and it was just so much fun. So I look forward to hearing from you and interviewing them. And thanks so much, everybody, for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. Find me at meetkathywilliams.com. Have a great week, and if you can't wait that long, Google Sexy Mom Abundant Life and my name, and you'll find all the places where you can replay.